Thaddeus Cleveland is the sheriff in Terrell County, Texas. Laura Reese is the director of the Border Security and Immigration Heritage Foundation and the former DHS acting deputy chief of staff. Thank you both for coming on. Laura, if I could start with you on this, the news of the new president in Panama proposing closing the Darien Gap, potentially putting up a wall in this area. Why has this not been thought about before? What do you think? Will this make a major difference?
Well, it is good news, and let's hope that with the next election, the U.S. has a president that then President Molina can work with. This echoes something that the former Guatemalan president, Alejandro Giammattei, offered. Giammattei offered to close Guatemala's southern border to the Biden administration. And yet Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas and Secretary Blinken of the State Department rejected Giammattei's offer. And Giammattei had concluded that, look, I have to conclude that the Biden administration wants not only the U.S. border open, but the borders throughout Central America open as well. And the results have been historic numbers. 520,000 migrants have crossed the Darien Gap last year, more than doubling the year before. It is extremely dangerous, and it should be shut down, not just for the migrants themselves, but for the U.S. and Panama.
Sheriff, this is sending a message, closing the Darien Gap, and with none other than a wall. What sort of a message is it sending to President Biden?
Well, first and foremost, we need to remember that President Biden and his administration created this problem. Look, when I left the Border Patrol and when President Trump left the presidency, it was the safest and most secure border. After that, look, we also had programs and initiatives in place, whether it was a migrant protection protocol, whether it was the ENV program with the Northern Triangle countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Thirdly, we shouldn't rely on other countries to protect and solve our border problem. But this is a great move. I have to commend, them wanting to actually assist us in the Darien Gap, because that portion of the border is about 50 miles from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Where you look at the northern border of Mexico, United States, 2,000 miles. So if we can expand our borders down to that area, as well as the isthmus in Mexico, that's about 100 miles. That's what we did under President Trump, and that's what we need to get back to doing as well to assist us at our border.
And not even that, but not even just possible deterrent, but deterring them from coming, but even slowing down the process of it even happening and limiting that daily number of encounters for CBP. Laura, what would be your recommendation to the current administration? It's been pushed off to Congress from White House press briefings. That is, it's the fault of legislation, lack of reform, Republicans not agreeing with the president. It has to do with legislation. Laura, what are your thoughts there, your recommendation for this administration when it comes to the border?
Well, President Biden created this border crisis all by himself, starting on day one. Congress hasn't passed immigration legislation since 1996. So this wasn't Congress's doing. This was Joe Biden all by himself. He created it. He can fix it with a pen. He doesn't want to because he's beholden to his radical left. However, he knows border security is the #1 issue for Americans. He knows it's an election year, so he's looking for any excuse to blame Congress, specifically the Republicans. The House did its job. It passed a fantastic border security bill, H.R. 2, now a year ago. That bill's been collecting dust on the Senate. The Senate needs to take up that bill and pass it, not the Schumer-Lankford bill that was negotiated, which would only codify Biden's very tools that created the current border crisis.
Thaddeus, the president of Panama has said that he wants to work with Trump, mentioning that he even had support to, quote, add some cement from the former president. Are these two together the key to answering our border crisis?
Well, to be honest, what we need in the White House is a strong president, one that's going to let the rest of the world know, primarily, you're not going to come to our country illegally. But secondly, it does take partnerships. And look, what President Trump did with the president of Mexico, 3.5 years ago, and told the president, look, if you don't start assisting us, then we're going to enforce some tariffs on your products and goods come to the United States. It looks like we have a partner that wants to work with us down in Panama. That is something that is extremely beneficial to the United States of America. And again, I can't stress enough, this isn't rhetoric. This problem was created by this administration.
The problem continues. Again, CBP encounters alone. Again, also on the FBI terror watch list. We've heard from FBI Director Christopher Wray testifying about that very subject. Also, these unknown gotaways as well. Those known on the terror watch list living in the United States for years, only to be caught again. There's so many problems there. Again, though media seems seemingly obviously consumed here with Trump's trials, not only that and what's happening on the campuses, but the crisis at the border continues. Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, Lori, thank you both. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.